Hello everyone, welcome back. So, today in this episode we're going to be covering George Benton, aka the Professor. Now this gentleman basically invented the Philly shell, and we know who's the master of Philly shell, that'd be Floyd Mayweather, James Toney, etc. And this video is really good. It's just I let it run, and I've got another video to show like more of his kind of highlight reel. He's kind of back in the day, and then he became like a boxing coach. So yeah.
When you think of a fighter that uses the Philly shell or shoulder roll, first fighters that will no doubt come to mind are of course the likes of Floyd Mayweather, James Toney, or Pernell Whitaker. However, there was a true boxing genius before these men even came into the picture. That man, of course, was a Philadelphian himself, George Benton, the original and true master of the Philly shell. In today's video, I'm going to take a closer look at how Benton refined and made the Philly shell into what it is today, along with how his teachings have shaped and inspired some of the greatest fighters. So on that note, let's get right into it.
He's amazing, by the way, like real amazing. Might even have the edge over Floyd.
Now before going right into Benton, there is of course the origin of the Philly shell. And back in the first half of the 20th century, there was a lot of white-collar type workers who would start to go to boxing gyms for sparring and for their fitness, with many of them being successful amateur boxers themselves, and they were often referred to as gym warriors. However, these fighters didn't have the same amount of time to train like the professionals, so therefore, over time, developed a style of sparring so they could defend themselves in the ropes when tired. And instead of using lots of footwork, would of course use waist movement and shoulder rolls while covering up in what we know is the Philly shell or sometimes the Michigan-style defense. However, once they got a second wind, would revert back to using their high guard and using footwork. The city of brotherly love, Philadelphia, and the surrounding states, such as Michigan, were well-known hotbeds for boxing talent and hard sparring. So it was only natural that eventually...
So just to reference that, like hard sparring, everyone, is well, it's your choice, right? But like if you look at the Thai fighters, and Muay Thai is probably the toughest sport, in terms of like physical pain, elbows to the face, knees, etc., right? They fast, light, technical, and often, and I definitely feel that's a better method. I know, like, you see most, like, boxing and boxing sparring, they spar very hard, and, you got to remember, like, you've got to be careful, because your brain is, floating in the liquid in your brain, so it's very delicate. Boxing's amazing, but and hand-to-hand combat's amazing as a sport and self-protection, but so be wary of sparring hard, always wear headgear, and just tell them, just say, look, just go 20%, 25% power, and you're meant to go heavy on the heavy bag. That's why it's called a heavy bag.
This style would be picked up and used to full effect. I highly recommend you check out the channels, the Uma Fight Camp and Phase Boxing, which has some great information on this, and I'll leave these in the description below. Now, there have been variations of the Philly shell in terms of when it came into the picture. Some of the greatest fighters using this so-called shoulder roll technique or crossed-armed crab style. This includes legendary fighters such as Sugar Ray Robinson and Joe Louis, but maybe it was the old mongoose Archie Moore who really refined and was a great pioneer.
We just done a video on Archie Moore, so that'd be in the video list.
Pioneer in using the shoulder roll to dodge shots and, of course, counter punch. But despite some of these old stars using variations of the shoulder roll, there was, however, a true master of the style.
The best way to burn fat and get in shape is not keto, paleo, fasting, or vegan, and it's not super intense.
And you hate that.
Now, you could consider George Benton one of the greatest fighters not to win a world title, and was unlucky not to get his shot in the end, as he defeated 4 future and former world champions in Freddie Little, Jimmy Ellis, Joey Jardello, and the great Cuban fighter Luis Rodriguez. And he finished with a professional record of 61 wins, 13 losses, and 1 draw. In terms of Georgie Benton's style, it was simply his masterful use of the Philly shell, while being an aggressive counterpuncher for the most part, while he had tremendous ability to slip and roll punches, making you miss while waiting for the right moment to counterpunch with his right hand. However, there was a key factor for Benton, like with many of the old school fighters and shell users, was that he would use a bladed stance off the center line to his right, with his left shoulder on the center line ready to roll to protect his chin, while his left hand would also be ready to cover his lower body. In the case of his right hand, it was always ready to catch or parry shots away, usually.
See, this is how you should do the Philly shell. You know, have that. You know, if you're orthodox, your left leg forward. You know, have that right fist, you know, up by your temple. You know, because you can always bring it down, but you're always protecting your head. You know.
Just keeping it under his chin, always ready to defend.
So under the chin, right? Loads of people do under the chin, and I get that. But why not just go a bit higher, and then you're protecting your chin and the whole of your head?
Or sometimes you would put it out to the side to give a tempting opening for competitors to attack. No doubt for him to look for a counterpunch opportunity. Benton would usually like to catch or parry before quickly slipping the punch to his right and moving out of range, returning with a jab or using it as an opportunity to get on the inside. While in the pocket, he would keep his right hand very tight to block left hooks to the body or head. And like we see with a lot of Philly shell style fighters to this day, he put a lot of weight on the back right foot to allow him to roll and bend at the waist more easily to dodge punches, along with the transfer of weight when throwing his power punches. And watching Benton duck, roll and dodge shots is just beautiful to watch for any boxing purist, and how quickly he was able to shoulder roll and block shots.
He's exactly right. Like how amazing is that, you know.
Right foot to allow him to roll and bend at the waist more easily to dodge punches, along with the transfer of weight when throwing his power punches. And watching Benton duck, roll and dodge shots is just beautiful to watch for any boxing purist, and how quickly he was able to shoulder roll and block shots.
He's right in front of him and he's taking no damage. You know, that's serious skill. A bit like Floyd, you know.
Another huge part of his success was his balanced and fundamental footwork. Just like many of the great old-timers, he would never overexert himself by hopping and jumping around a lot. Instead, he would look to use slow or quick shuffle movements forward and backward, always maintaining the proper stance and maintaining distance to attack or defend. In terms of his offense, Benton was in fact very patient, always staying in that mid to close range. And this is why, in my opinion, I would say he's probably more of an aggressive counterpuncher. I'd say he resembles more the likes of James Toney or an older Bernard Hopkins, probably compared to the likes of Mayweather, who like to move around a lot more. I would say this is mainly because George was able to sit in the pocket and stand his ground in the center ring for much longer while trading on the inside. Very much like his future student in Pernell Whitaker, who is also very capable of doing this at times. Benton also had an excellent jab where he would usually fire as an up jab. Quite often, he would throw these in multiples, helping to keep off his opponent, but also to condition his opponent to narrow his guard. And this is where you really get to see Georgie's terrific ring IQ come into play. And his opponent would start to expect nothing but the jab, and was able to change this eventually by throwing a surprise lead left hook around the guard of his opponent. While this was also helped just by his use of head feints and feinting with the lead hand before throwing and moving out of range again. And a prime example of this was when he faced Johnny Smith, where he was able to set up that lead left hook, followed by the right to knock him out. In terms of his counter-punching, it would of course be his terrific right cross counter, where he'd quite easily use the Philly shell roll or a simple slip return right counter. But once again, it was his brilliant IQ and timing by Benton, as he would usually look to condition his opponent by him catching and parrying and slipping jabs, without countering. But over time though, and once he felt he had his opponent conditioned, he's able to counter them with a counter right hand they were not expecting. While he'd also look to set up things like the check left hook, as we've seen the likes of Floyd Mayweather use when he knocked out Ricky Hatton many years later.
That's a great shot. That's a great shot.
While Benton's shell stance was also suited for fighting on the inside, always looking to keep his head on the left shoulder, leaning in, while looking to land body shots with hooks and set up the right uppercut. While he would also look to frame off the shoulder to create a gap so he could...
So, you know, this close kind of... My personal recommendation, don't ever do this. It's not worth it. Just lock up arms, and then if you're sparring, break up and reform, you know, your stance in the centre of the ring, or let the referee do it, you know, because you don't know, like, he could come round with a hook and hit the back of your head, and then you got brain damage for the rest of your life. So there's no point fucking around, like putting your head on his fucking shoulder and all this, like playing too close. Remember, hand-to-hand combat is the art of, the art of hitting and not getting hit. You know, dishing out damage but not taking any damage.
Get off a sharp left hook to the body or head. And although Benton is more or less considered a defensive master, offensively, he could be just as lethal or rugged. From analysing George Benton's fighting days, it's no surprise he was later called the Professor, and apparently was quoted saying he knew 48 ways to counter the jab. And from watching him, I believe him.
Helen Hansel was able to win any competition she...
So basically, I'm going to show you another clip here.
From Philadelphia.
Sorry. So basically, he went on to coach the Olympic team that Floyd was on, and so was Holyfield, and some other people, maybe George Foreman as well. I don't know, but basically he basically become an amazing coach with his amazing skills, and basically he got shot in the back or something, so that stopped him like competing, sadly, but he healed up and became an amazing coach, and showed a lot of people how to box, you know, correctly. But see, we got a little bit of. If you appreciate the hand-to-hand combat, you can definitely appreciate this, because this is the correct way to stand in front of someone and not take damage. Like, this is the ultimate defense, you know, and maybe add the cross guard and the long guard and the high guard, whatever, add some other elements to it. But this as your foundation is the best defense for just boxing, you know, like, you have to be a bit more wary when the kicks are in. so fast with his kind of side bends, you know, like to duck and roll under the shot. And obviously his bladed stance, so you're less of a target. You know, your target is your arm and, you know, the head, but he can, you know, quite dodge out quite well, so. Beautiful. That's nice jab. He's so good at bowling that. I don't think I've seen him take any damage. That's a nice hook, but. Yeah, so I don't know. I think he might be even obviously better than Floyd, you know. But Floyd can't, you know, obviously Floyd's more active. You know, I'm not sure if the gentleman is still alive, but I think he's one of my new favourite boxers. His defense is unbelievable. Unbelievable. So, ladies and gents, you want to study Mr. George Benton if you don't want to take damage. And I would say that Floyd does it slightly better in terms of you don't want to get too close. You want to like Floyd does, jump in, dish out the damage, and then, you know, get out of range. You know, I think but he's so good. Look, that's why he can fight in the pocket so well, because he like close quarters, because he's so good at slipping and rolling and parrying and, you know, dodging all the shots. I haven't seen him get hit at all. Like I've seen him block everything basically. Nice. I think Floyd has a better kind of like front shoulder element. Like Floyd's definitely more protected on the like bladed, but he's rolling shots, slipping and that is amazing. I hope I'm not. Yeah, so if you like the content, give it a like, subscribe, and then you can always get updated of the latest thing. So, you know, like we're all about analysing, you know, the best of the best. So you got any recommendations of you know, champions that you think are very amazing hand-to-hand combat people or martial artists or whatever? Put it in the comments and I'll check it out. But yeah, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.